More perspective on the refugee rush. I'm Lilley with TheRebel.Media. We know that the Liberals have agreed to slow down their refugee rush. Now it's 10,000 by December 31st, not 25,000. The 25,000, that'll come together by the end of February. That's still a pretty rushed turnaround for moving so many people in a short period of time. I've told you already that this population that we'll be bringing in is bigger than towns like Brockville, Ontario. If altogether in Newfoundland, it would be the second biggest city in that province, the third biggest in Nova Scotia. But what about the timelines for screening these refugees, these people we're bringing in? How does that compare to the norm? Well, if you wanted a visitor's visa to come to Canada on a short stay from Turkey, that process of applying and waiting for word would take an average of 52 days. Coming from Jordan, it would be an average of 26, from Lebanon, 23 days. This is all information directly from the Immigration Department. And remember, this is coming for just a short visit, not to stay, coming to see your relatives for Christmas. What about coming to stay in Canada permanently as a government-assisted refugee? How long does that normally take? Well, the Immigration Department doesn't measure this in days or weeks, but actually months. The processing time for a government-sponsored refugee applying to come to Canada through the offices in Amman, Jordan, that takes on average 11 months. If they were applying from the office in Ankara, Turkey, or Beirut, Lebanon, that would take 9 months. 9 months. Not 9 days, not 9 weeks, 9 months. But now, under this Liberal plan, the whole process is going to take days or a couple of weeks at best. Yeah, I'm absolutely happy that the Liberals decided to slow things down. They're doing the screening overseas rather than in Canada. That is huge. But this is still a major rush, and the question is why? The civil war in Syria has been going on for years. Remember, this started with protests of unrest related to the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring had spread to Syria by March of 2011. Eventually, it turned into a full-scale civil war. Now, there have been people displaced for years, people living in camps for years. Canada's already brought thousands of these people from Syria, even more from war-torn Iraq. So why the rush to bring in 25,000 now and do it so quickly? Well, it all has to do with emotion and electoral politics. I want you to think back to the day in early September that the photo of 3-year-old Alan Kurdi's body washed up on the Turkish shores finally hit the news media of the world. The story quickly became that he and his family had applied to come to Canada, but were denied. That was a false story. They'd never asked. Canadian officials didn't know the Kurdi family at all. None of that mattered. It became a highly emotional story, a story that the Liberals and NDP and the media used to attack the Conservatives for not caring, for not doing enough for refugees. Never mind that Canada was already second only to the United States in resettling United Nations refugees. Never mind that thousands had already been brought to this country, that millions of dollars had been spent helping those in need on the ground, and the Canadian military was helping to fight the creators of the refugees in ISIS. And forget also that Stephen Harper and the Conservatives had promised to bring more refugees to Canada from Syria earlier in that election campaign, and that the media, for the most part, had ignored that story. They saw it as a non-story. Forget all of that. Now there was an emotional story, one based on a heartbreaking photo and a false storyline. And that allowed Trudeau to beat up on the government that he was trying to defeat. So he did. He used it. He promised he would do more than Harper, and he promised he would do it faster. And that is why this is happening now. That is why this is happening so quickly. It isn't about refugees and what's best for them. It isn't about Canada and what's best for us as a country. This is about emotions. It's about partisan politics. It is about one-upmanship. You need to remember that the next time you're called cold or callous or uncaring when you question the rush. If it were not for that photo, not for the election, yeah, we'd still be bringing in refugees from the region, but we'd be moving at a pace of months rather than days.